Well, she is an Emmy and Grammy award-winning comedian who has been in the game for decades. She has more televised stand-up specials than anyone, man or woman, by the way. Her whirlwind My Life on the PTSD List tour, set to make a stop right here in Boston at Symphony Hall on January 31st. Kathy Griffin, welcome aboard.
Symphony Hall, can you believe it?
Hey, it's a pretty good venue.
I don't know that there's ever been anyone more inappropriate for Symphony Hall than me. And yet I am so grateful. I had the honor of playing it one time before. And after a few years of, how shall I say, a little rockiness in my life, that let's just deal with the elephant in the room, started with the Trump decapitated head picture, where I was put on the no-fly list, the Interpol list, which is the international version of the no-fly list, the Five Eyes list, which is the terror watch list. It makes it a little difficult to tour. But honestly, I have so much gratitude. I didn't think I would ever be able to play Symphony Hall again. And the fact that I get to stand on that stage, I'm not religious, but I call it the church, is just a miracle to me. So I'm bringing 2 hours if I'm a good girl, 2 hours and 15 minutes if I'm a bad girl, and I cannot wait. And I have no opening act, so be on time. I get right into it. I write all my own stuff. Don't worry, I don't go in the crowd and bother you. You can just sit back and relax and blow off steam, but we will be making fun of people, places, and things.
Well, you know, I saw you last year in Providence, Rhode Island, and you were relentless for, honestly, 220. I will say, Kathy, 220. Nonstop. It was incredible. And you're one of those like old school acts who just is a storyteller. I mean, you bring the heat every time. I got to know now, a year later, who's in the act that wasn't? How has it changed? What are we going to hear?
Okay, so first of all, I have one story about going on vacation with Sia, the chandelier singer.
Oh, we know her.
And I actually have her permission to tell it, which I don't think has ever happened. And it's funny, we went on a vacation and everything went wrong, but it's actually a love letter to her as well. It's not mean. I have a story about, I just got divorced and I'm heartbroken. And so I talk about it because everybody knows what it's like to be heartbroken. And I talk about going to Jane Fonda's house and she looked after me. And once again, it's not mean, but it is funny. And I even went and leaned on Sharon Stone, and I adore her, and she's very, let's go with unique, and I just love her, and so the audience gets it. And I also talk a lot about PTSD because I've been diagnosed with it, and I think that's kind of funny in itself because I only thought it was for combat veterans, but I guess I'll believe what the doctors tell me. And I do tackle everything that's happened in the last few years since I was blacklisted by my own industry, which has been really painful. But once again, I make light of everything, most of all myself. But I do talk about when I became addicted to prescription pills, and I'm now 4.5 years sober. But there are parts of that are funny. And I just feel like, you know what? Everyone in that audience has been touched by addiction in some way, shape, or form. So to me, that makes it fair game. I had lung cancer. What?
I was going to ask, too, just you've been through so much as you're telling us here. One, your voice sounds great, by the way. And second,
I had a surgery. I have an implant in my left vocal cord. I feel like I got my life back overnight.
I mean, you sound great. It has been a journey for you, but I want to know, with all of these things, you mentioned your divorce, actual PTSD, like we're not joking here.
Yeah.
You have it. How has your comedy changed compared to maybe 10 or 15 years ago?
I think I have the confidence now to be more revealing about those type of topics. And, I try to make them relatable. I don't make it like a pity party. I make a joke about becoming addicted to prescription pills at the age of 57, because who the heck becomes a junkie at 57? Me, right here, guilty. And like I said, there are a lot of funny parts. Even when I talk about my lung cancer, I'm down half a lung. I don't know if you know about that, but I didn't smoke, but I had lung cancer. cancer. They took out half my left lung. And then I was injured during the surgery. So for 3 years, I had a voice that was literally like this. And that did a number on my head. I sounded like Minnie Mouse. But then Sia, my good pal, recommended Dr. Anka Barbu, who's from Boston. And she was like, well, wait a minute, what are you going to these old white guys for? They don't even know what's new. There's an implant you can get. So I got my voice back. And I know this sounds corny, but I think the show kind of illustrates how I lost my voice with the Trump scandal metaphorically, but I then went through hell and high water, and through this wonderful female surgeon, I got the implant and I got my voice back, and I'm back at Symphony Hall. And that was one of my goals. You know, look, I'm not the most famous person in the room. I'm always very open about that. I'm happy to be on the D list or the PTSD list, but I'm so grateful that I finally found a doctor, a surgeon who knew what she was doing, gave me my voice back, and still got divorced after that. So who knows what's coming next? I mean, you know, I'm going to be honest, if you're a Trumper, don't come. You're not going to like the show. Although I don't even talk about Trump in this show. But I'm just saying my history with Trumpers is a little rocky. And I do get into trouble and I open my big mouth and I'm in a beef with, you know, Elon Musk, which is ongoing.
Oh, yeah, he likes you, right?
Oh, yeah, he's a big fan of mine. I mean, first of all, I can't wait to run into him. So he should be scared to run into me, only because I will say something wildly inappropriate to him. And he will not be prepared for it because I don't think he is a genius. I'm not sold on that. And so I'm going for him. Look, I punch up. I look, I'll mention Trump if he does something particularly egregious that day, which, you know, it's a day that ends in a Y, but I just don't want it to be about Trump. I did a whole tour about that 7 years ago, and I made a movie.
Yeah, it's a documentary, right.
The documentary is called Kathy Griffin, A Hell of a Story. You can watch it on Amazon for free, and it tells all the gory details of that experience. So I feel like, okay, I got that out. And then my life sort of came back together in one way and then fell apart in another way. And I also feel like as a country, we're kind of all suffering a little PTSD, whether it's from COVID or becoming, you know, such a divided country where we are at this moment. But, you know, I've been doing stand-up for decades. I've always made fun of the president, every president. So I do punch up, as they say. And if I'm going to make fun of someone like the great Jane Fonda, trust me, I tell the audience every show, I got to tell you this hilarious story, but she is a legend. She is the greatest. So I make fun of the ones that can handle it, that can take it. And, you know, sometimes they get mad at me, sometimes they don't. But like I said, for Sia to say, go tell that story, feel free to even zhuzh it up and embellish a little bit. And it's funny, she's actually come to see the show twice. And this is, you can look at this online. Twice Sia came to see me. And you know, she wears that wig with this half black and half.
You can't see her. Right.
Nobody knows what she looks like. And so twice I was on stage and I put her on the spot and I made her sing Chandelier from her chair in the darkness.
Incredible.
Which it was incredible. And it caused a gay frenzy, which is my favorite thing. And so it was a moment. And, you know, you just never know what's going to happen at a Kathy Griffin show if I can speak about myself in the third person. Because now I'm officially crazy. Like, I always knew I was crazy, but now I'm diagnosed.
I wanted to ask you, too, if we can, just talk about Joan Rivers for a second. I mean, I couldn't believe it's been now, what is it, more than 10 years, I think, since...
I can't believe it.
I know she's your mentor. What do you think she'd make of the
Yeah.
times we're in? How would she turn it funny? Because she always did.
She turns everything funny. And, you know, she was such a good person as well and so brilliant. And she saw every single show on Broadway and she read every book. And I think, you know, she was friendly with the Donald, as she called him, and she won the Celebrity Apprentice. And so I think she felt grateful to him for that. But my guess, I don't know. My guess is she would have probably been kind of, kind to him at first, but eventually I don't think she would have been able to stop herself because, we've never had a president like this. And Joan just called it like she saw it. And I'm sure she would have thoughts, but I can't even picture her in cancel culture because she was such a legend. She's uncancelable. And I do miss her every single day. I really do. And I miss our talks and I miss our lunches and I miss being with her and talking smack about everybody else. I mean, what's more fun than that?
Well, I know she was your mentor, and so many of people like me grew up watching My Life on the D-List. You really did raise a lot of us with that show. And I just wanted to end with that because did you buy that back and then give it out? Tell me about that.
Okay, so I bought my entire library from NBC Universal, and that includes 21 stand-up specials. Well, some of it was NBC, some of it was HBO and Comedy Central, and a lot of it was Bravo, which is owned by NBC Universal, which is now Peacock. And I bought back all 6 seasons of the Emmy Award-winning My Life on the D-List, as well as my Kathy Talk Show. And here's the best part. I don't get a penny because Peacock had a proviso in the contract where I could sell it to any other streamer except Peacock. And so just enjoy it on them. And I don't know what the viewership is. I have no idea how many people are rewatching it or watching it for the first time. But I really, really hope young people discover it and like it. I haven't even watched it since it first aired. It's probably so inappropriate that I probably would cancel myself if I watched it.
I love episodes like you shopping with Paris Hilton, and you guys are still friends. I mean, it's crazy some of those friendships that have kept going here. But who needs to watch it when you can just see Kathy Griffin live? She's going to be in Boston January 31st at Boston Symphony Hall. You can get tickets on the BSO's website or at kathygriffin.net. Kathy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brandon, and I'll see you there.
All right, bye-bye.